Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickinson from Dubbo Regional Council.
I have Dubbo Regional Council Mayor Matthew Dickinson on the line to talk with me this morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, Nathan. Good to be talking to you. I don't get to talk to you every single time. I'm normally talking to Rod, so it's good to chat to you for a change.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. So, the Western Division Council's New South Wales Conference was recently held in Cobar.
Yeah, that was last Thursday and Friday. And Dubbo is not technically in the Western Division, but obviously Dubbo and Western Division Councils, I think, have a symbiotic relationship. We need all the Western Division Councils to be shopping in Dubbo to keep the economy of Dubbo humming along. And hopefully the people around the entire Western Division like to have the goods and services that are provided within Dubbo. So I thought it was important to go along. And there was a good lineup of speakers there, good interaction with those various councils. And any time you get together with councils, councillors, mayors, general managers, there's always good discussion about a whole range of things and just seeing what we can do individually in each of our own patch of the woods to actually help everything go forward. So it's always good to share those ideas. And we had Tara Moriarty, the Minister, came along, Office of Local Government. We had Department of Regional New South Wales, Transport for New South Wales. So a range of different organisations there came along to speak to the people in the room. And I think a very beneficial conference.
What were some of the things they spoke about?
Well, different areas spoke about different particular things. So, for example, Department of Regional New South Wales, one of the important things they talked about was money that the government gives to telecommunication companies. It used to be that individual telcos receive money from the government, and then, of course, that led to the situation we've got now where you've got different spots around the state that have got different service provided by one of the three carriers. They've really changed their methodology now so that any of that money that's given out to any telco needs to be shared. So if one telco builds a tower, they must share that tower space or have a method in place to share that tower space with the other two telcos. So that makes sense, and it was good to hear from the department around that. We obviously had people like the Office of Local Government speaking, and they talked about a range of things that are happening within the Office of Local Government. Probably the main topic there was audits and audit fees, and this has been a big bone of contention for councils across the state. We don't get to choose the auditor. We have to use the State Government Audit Office, and they set the fee. So there's no competition there, and it's hard for them to justify, in our minds, how much that they're charging for those fees. Another one along those same lines with the Office of Local Government was the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, ARIC it's known as, and those committees are something that's legislated across the state, and people that sit on those committees are paid money to sit on those committees. The same amount of money is paid no matter whether you're in an ARIC in Sydney or in somewhere out in the Western area. And one of the things we find there is that the budgets are dramatically different, but it's interesting that councillors are paid a lot less money in Western area councils compared to Sydney councils based on the size of the budget. But the ARIC committee members, who are not councillors, they're members of the public, they're paid the same amount of money no matter where they are. So just some of those discussions like that. It's good to have some of those government departments, and there were some private organisations in the room that presented as well, but good to have some of those open discussions.
All right. Now, the method of sales of land is changing.
Well, potentially changing. So at our committee meetings last Thursday night, we made a recommendation to change a few things, and one of the things that's interesting about the structure we have with our meetings is that we have our committee meetings on the second Thursday of each month. They don't have the power to make resolutions of council. They have the ability to make recommendations to council. So it's a good chance to discuss things at a detailed level, but no final decision is made. The final decision will be made on the 27th of June at the next council meeting. But what we've proposed in relation to Keswick Estate is three changes. The first change is when someone buys a block of land, this is council-owned land, then we're going to offer them a delayed settlement up to 12 months. That means a builder could build a house on there and sell that without having the added cash flow problems of actually paying for that block of land up front. We think that'll help promote some activity within the housing industry. We need more houses, so we think that'll help promote that and help get some builders to start to put some some houses on those blocks of land. We've got over 50 blocks of land that we created there in that estate. We've sold about 18 of those so far, but we want to sell, obviously, more of those. So we think that's a good way to help promote that. The second part is we've had a limit in the past of no more than 2 blocks of land owned by any one organisation, any one entity. We're going to lift that limit to 5 and also allow entities to buy them, and then if they sell them, to buy more. So that again helps promote some sort of activity in the housing industry. And the third change we're proposing is, at the moment we've got a multi-agency agreement. So we've got 9 different real estate agents that have got the ability to sell those blocks there. We want to change that. We'll go through a public process to then decide on one agency and give them exclusive access to those. And we think that'll help them focus more on those sales.
Okay. Now, the next Mayoral Developers Forum is coming up.
It's coming up on this Wednesday, 5:30 p.m. at the Western Plains Cultural Centre. This is a concept that I started way back in 2011. And the idea is that we've got lots of potential activity happening in the development industry in Dubbo, but maybe there's an opportunity there for more activity to occur and better developments to occur. And we believe the best way to do that is to get the people involved in the industry in the room together and have discussions at a detailed level. So the first thing we do is we give an update on where things are up to with the development industry. Then we also have different people from the development industry can do a presentation as well. So, for example, this Wednesday night, we've got the Real Estate Institute of New South Wales Arana Division talking about where things are happening from their point of view. So it's not just council talking, it's other organisations talking as well. And then most importantly, we do a Q&A with myself and council, with anyone in the room. And then we often see developers and builders and financiers and real estate agents and architects and everyone in the room having some pretty detailed discussions about what's happening. And we think that there is probably the most powerful part of it, all those people in the room having discussions and seeing what opportunities there are for those different organisations to work together. Council doesn't need to be involved in all those conversations, but we think it helps promote better activity in the industry when those organisations are talking with each other.
And also a problem with a squirrel glider.
This is a really interesting one. If you talk to the chair of the Western Alliance, or the Alliance of Western Councils, the Mayor of Narromine, Craig Davies, he'll tell you in great detail about the problems that the Biodiversity Conservation Act seems to bring to people around this region. Now, the Biodiversity Conservation Act was focused on delivering better outcomes from a biodiversity perspective, but sometimes it's not a great example of one size fits all. So some of those things happen in Sydney, and I think it's incredibly important that biodiversity is protected across the state, but the numbers that apply sometimes make more sense in Sydney than they do in regional areas. And there are some developments that I guarantee haven't gone ahead because of the fees that would be charged via the Biodiversity Conservation Act. In our example, we've got a development along Camp Road. We think it'll be a good development, 33 lot subdivision along there. But there was a squirrel glider sighted in 2018 in that particular area. We don't know whether that squirrel glider was just passing through on his way to visit some mate somewhere else, or whether the squirrel glider lived there, but it was sighted. In 2024, for the particular subdivision to go ahead, then that developer is being asked to pay about $60,000 in offsets for that one squirrel glider. It hasn't been sighted since. We don't know whether it's definitely there or not. And the challenge, Nathan, is that I can ask you to go and sit out there in this particular area for a week, and you could say, I didn't see a squirrel glider there. But it doesn't prove the squirrel glider wasn't there. The absence of evidence is not the evidence of absence. So because there's been no habitat change as such, we've still got to go ahead with that State Government Biodiversity Conservation Act and say, we think the squirrel glider is potentially still there, therefore you've got to pay that amount of money. So it's a really interesting process about how far do we go to protect biodiversity. And the real challenge for councils in this particular one, and the debate was focused a bit around this last Thursday night, was the $60,000, if it's paid, where does it go? Well, presumably it doesn't go to that squirrel glider family to go and get a new home somewhere. We can't find the squirrel glider. It goes to not council, not the state government, but to an organisation somewhere, and there are many around, that will help protect the habitat for squirrel gliders somewhere. So we hope that that money would be used in that way, but we're not sure. But the bottom line is, if the money is paid by that developer, the developer can go ahead and do the development, and it doesn't matter if there's a squirrel glider there or not. So it doesn't seem that it's really protecting the home of the squirrel glider in this particular example. More debate will occur on this. We'll have our final decision at the council meeting on the 27th of June on the squirrel glider.
All right, and a new animal shelter.
This is an important one. We have a number of cats and dogs that are picked up around Dubbo on a regular basis. And in picking up those cats and dogs, then they've got to go somewhere. So they go to our animal shelter at the moment, but we're getting a bit of overcrowding. That animal shelter is fairly old, and we're averaging at the moment 2,216 dogs and cats every year. We needed a bigger facility, we needed more space, and we needed a more modern facility. So we're building that now. We did the sod turning of that last week, and the new facility will feature enclosures for 40 cats and in pens, dog pens, 101 dog pens. Now, I'm not sure why it's 101. I'm not sure if someone's a Dalmatians fan or whether 101 just happened to be the number that fitted in there, but that's a larger facility than we've got now and more modern facilities. So one of the examples is at the moment, the dog pens, the drain that goes past the dog pens, if one dog uses that drain, that runs past 4 dog pens in total. So there's potential for spreading of disease. So we need to set it up so that each drain for each dog pen individually goes away and doesn't actually affect other dog pens. So things like that where we'll have an improved facility. So we think that's a good move. April next year, that'll be finished by.
Well, Matthew, thank you so much for your time this morning. I believe you have a special sign-off for us this morning, a limerick.
A limerick, why not? Let's do a limerick. And I thought the development forum was probably the best thing to talk about in a limerick. So here goes. At the forum this week, we'll discuss how housing will be built for all of us. With plans on the table, we'll soon be able to house all of our residents without fuss.
Beautiful. Matthew, thank you for your time.
Always my pleasure, Nathan. Thank you.
Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickinson from Dubbo Regional Council.